Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Pallabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Pallabha Girivaradari Nandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Bhajajana Ranjana Yamunadira Banajari Gira Banachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana namaskritya naram cheva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat Shinvata swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hidyantaksto bhadrani vidunati suhit satam nastapresu bhadresu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati utamasloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki tadarajas tamo bhavo kamaloba dayaschaye cheta etaranavitam stitvam sattve prasidati evam prasanamanaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnana mukta sangasya jayate vidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarva samsayaha shiyante chasya karmani Justa evat manishware. To hear about Krishna from the Vedic literatures, or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita, is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best-wishing friend and purifies a devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant, transcendental knowledge. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in devotional service of the Lord. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lusts and avarice are diminished. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. Thus, Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of asamsayam samagram, understanding of the Supreme Absolute Truth, Personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verses 17 to 21. This explains the process of devotional service. Okay, so today we're going to hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5. Narada's instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam. And we can repeat. Evam nrinam kriya yoga sarve samsriti hetavaha ta evatma vinasaya kalpante kalpitaha pare. Translation. Thus, when all a man's activities are dedicated to the service of the Lord, those very activities which caused his perpetual bondage become the destroyer of the tree of work. So we can repeat. Thus, when all a man's activities are dedicated to the service of the Lord, those very activities which caused his perpetual bondage become the destroyer of the tree of work. Of the tree of work. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Fruitive work, which has perpetually engaged the living entity, or the living being, is compared to the banyan tree in the Bhagavad Gita, for it is certainly very deeply rooted. As long as the propensity for enjoying the fruit of work is there, one has to continue the transmigration of the soul from one body or place to another, according to one's nature of work. The propensity for enjoyment may be turned into the desire for serving the mission of the Lord. By doing so, one's activity is changed into karma yoga, or the way by which one can attain spiritual perfection while engaging in the work for which he has a natural tendency. Here the word Atma indicates the categories of all fruitive work. The conclusion is that when the result of all fruitive and other work is dovetailed with the service of the Lord, it will cease to generate further karma and will gradually develop into transcendental devotional service, which will not only cut off completely the root of the banyan tree of work, but will also carry the performer to the lotus feet of the Lord. The summary is that one has to, first of all, seek the association of pure devotees who not only are learned in the Vedanta, but are self-realized souls and unalloyed devotees of Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. In that association, the neophyte devotees must render loving service physically and mentally without reservation. This service attitude will induce the great souls to be more favorable in bestowing their mercy, which injects the neophyte with all the transcendental qualities of the pure devotees. Gradually, this is developed into a strong attachment to hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, which makes him able to catch up the constitutional position of the gross and subtle bodies, and beyond them, the knowledge of pure soul and his eternal relation with the Supreme Soul, the personality of Godhead. After the relation is ascertained by establishment of the eternal relation, pure devotional service to the Lord begins gradually developing into perfect knowledge of the personality of Godhead, beyond the purview of impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma. By such Purushottama Yoga, as it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, that is, one is made perfect even during the present corporeal existence, or existence in the body, and one exhibits all the good qualities of the Lord to the highest percentage. Such is the gradual development by association of pure devotees. So, Krishna consciousness is a gradual development. It doesn't happen overnight. If you want fast food devotional service, you will fail, guaranteed. Why? Because we have spent millions of lifetimes in the material world. How do you think that in a few days or a few months or a few years you can overcome all that conditioning? It's impossible. But if we remain steady in devotional service, like it was described here, you will attain success even in one lifetime. Even in one lifetime, it is possible. So we should not be in a hurry. We should be rather conscientious about all the details of devotional service. And the first and foremost is acharya pasamam, accepting bona fide spiritual teachers and taking gradually in proper initiation. But proper initiation, what does that mean? That means that you will attend regularly the program in the temple. That's what it means. The arti, class, prasadam. You have to, the duty of every devotee is at least once a day they attend this program. Once a day. It could be in the morning, it could be at night. But it has to be once a day. Why? Because material life is works on us through attrition. You know what that word means, attrition? It's a very good word. Let's look that up. Attrition means little by little it wears you down until you are completely hopeless and helpless. A-T-T-R-I-T-I-O-N. Write this down, Tulsi. A-T-T-R-I-T-I-O-N. A-T-T-R-I-T-I-O-N. The action or process of gradually reducing the strength or effectiveness of someone or something through sustained attack or pressure. That's exactly what Maya does. Sustained attack and pressure. Right? You got that? Well, all right. So you just write down, gradually reduces one's strength. Gradually, Gradually, reduces one's strength. Okay, so that's attrition. Gradually reduces, reduces, one's, attrition. And let me hear you pronounce it. Yes, this is a great word to know. This is what Maya does. She wears us down through constant attack and pressure. See? Okay. So you can go the opposite way. Instead of being a victim of attrition, Maya's attrition, you can be part of the Harinam Sankirtan, which goes the opposite way. It builds up your enthusiasm and strength. See? It goes the opposite way. So, at least once a day, we should see the arti, and hear the class, and have prasadam. So then Narada Muni continues. He says, whatever work is done here in this life for the satisfaction of the mission of the Lord is called bhakti yoga. In other words, any work that you do to please Krishna, that's called bhakti yoga. Or transcendental loving service to the Lord. And what is called knowledge becomes a concomitant factor. Write this word down, concomitant. C-O-N. C-O-M. First is C-O-N, right? N. C-O-N. And then after that, C-O-M. I-T-A-N-T. So concomitant means happening at the same time, right? So if you engage in devotional service or bhakti yoga, you will develop knowledge of Krishna at the same time. It does not depend on any type of studying. It depends on the service. That's what's being said here. And that is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. It says, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Jnanayat Yasuvairagyam Jnanam Chayad Ahaitukam. There's a verse in the first canto, second chapter, and it says that Vasudevi Bhagavati, by engaging in the devotional service to the Lord, Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha, by the causeless mercy of the Lord, Jnanayat Asuvairagam Jnanam Chayad Ahaitukam, by rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. So, simply by engaging in devotional service, you develop knowledge. What is devotional service? It's coming to the temple, seeing the arti, listening to the class, taking prasadam, and chanting Hare Krishna. So if you do that on a regular basis, you will also be detached, and you will also develop knowledge, real knowledge. Okay. But factually, Bhakti Yoga is above both karma and jnana. Bhakti Yoga is independent of jnana or karma. Or on the other hand, jnana and karma are dependent on Bhakti Yoga. That's what this verse, Vasudevi Bhagavati, says, that action in Krishna consciousness and knowledge, transcendental knowledge, depend on devotional service. Devotional service doesn't depend on developing knowledge or engaging in karma yoga. It develops, it's dependent on devotional service. The Kriya Yoga, or Karma Yoga, as recommended by Sri Narada to Vyasa, is specifically recommended because the principle is to satisfy the Lord. So the problem today is people have given wrong definitions of Karma Yoga and Kriya Yoga. Just like there was one man here, he started teaching Sanskrit to the devotees here. And after 3 lessons, the devotees quit. And he came to me and said, I don't understand what's going on here. You know, your devotees are being wrongly trained. They think everything is Sankirtan, and Prashadam. I said, no, they have to study Sanskrit. I said, well, what do you mean? What's wrong with Sankirtan and Prashadam? No, they have to know Sanskrit also. I said, but how are you teaching Sanskrit? You must have done something that the devotees didn't like. That's why they stopped coming. Yes?
I went to one of his classes.
Yeah.
He would teach, he would teach...
What happened to the microphone? Every class, the microphone has to be ready. We shouldn't remind you 50 times. 1 second. We want to hear what you're saying. This class is recorded, so if you don't speak in the microphone, the people that are listening can't hear. And speak loudly into the microphones and hold it close to your mouth. Yeah, go ahead. So, you took a class by that man, right?
Yeah. And he would teach knowledge, Bhakti Yoga is he would teach you how to detach. And then Nityamachi, she came to one of the classes we also came to, and we all differed on different things. So did my dad, and he was teaching something different than what actual Krishna
well, no, he was teaching detachment from Krishna. That's what he was teaching. That's why it caused the problem. No, he came and talked to me. He said, there's something wrong, in this temple. Everyone is talking about Sankirtan and Prasadam. I said, no, there's nothing wrong with Sankirtan and Prasadam. There might be something wrong with the way you were teaching. I said, how were you teaching? So I was teaching Sanskrit. I said, but were you trying to teach something else along with the Sanskrit? He said, no, I'm teaching Sanskrit. He said, but there's one thing I don't understand. I said, what's that? What is this Supreme Personality of God? I don't understand what you mean by this. So I was being very patient with him. I said, okay. I said, Supreme Personality of Godhead is explained, 15th chapter. By the way, 15th chapter is called Purushottama Yoga, right? Prabhupada mentioned that in the purport, right? I said, in Purushottama Yoga, which is, it explains pure devotional service, basically, right? And I said to him that, by the way, the people that follow the Pushti Marg, Vaishnava path, Vallabhacharya, they emphasize this chapter in Bhagavad Gita. And they memorize it. And it's not difficult to memorize. It's only 20 verses. It's one of the shortest chapters. But it explains pure devotional service. And I showed him these 2 verses, 18 and 19, 15th chapter, where it says, Tasmat sharam atitoham aksharad apichotama atosmi loke vedecha pratita purushottamaha. Because, Krishna says, because I am transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible. Write this down, fallible, F-A-L-L, write it down. Tulsi, write this down, F-A-L-L, I-B-L-E. Fallible means you don't make any mistakes. Huh? What? I'm sorry. No, I said, I'm sorry, I was talking about infallible. Fallible means you make mistakes. Infallible means you don't make any mistakes. Sorry, thank you. So fallible, F-A-L-L-I-B-L-E, means you make mistakes, and infallible, I-N-F-A-L-L-I-B-L-E, means you don't make any mistakes. So today you've learned 4 words already, right? You learned attrition, concomitant, fallible, and infallible. You learn English by coming to the class. Okay? So, Krishna says, because I am transcendental, beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in the Vedas as that supreme person. Now, I read the purport to him. In the purport, Prabhupada says, no one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. I said, this is where the word comes. He said, show me what word it is. I said, it's Purushottama. Purusha means a person. Uttama means above all the influences of the material world. Above tama, ignorance. Ut means above. Uttama means above all ignorance. Right? So this is where the idea of Supreme Personality of Godhead comes. But that's not all. There's a lot more to it. But this is the beginning of understanding what Supreme Personality of Godhead means. Prabhupada says, no one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. No one is equal to or greater than Krishna. That's what it means. When it says no one can surpass, no one can go beyond Krishna. Krishna is the greatest of all. Now it is clear here, he is therefore the greatest of personalities. There's no person equal to or greater than Krishna. Now it is clear here that the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are individuals. So, second point made in this verse, that everything that comes from Krishna, especially all the jivas, the individual souls, are persons. And Krishna is a person. There's no question that Krishna is not a person, or that the Supreme Absolute Truth is not a person. There's no question of it. Now, it is clear that the living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are individuals. The difference is that the living entities, either in the conditioned state or in the liberated state, cannot surpass in quantity the inconceivable potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This means that we cannot imagine how powerful Krishna is. He has all powers. We could never equal or surpass Krishna's powers. Like, can you lift Govardhan Hill? No. I mean, it's 26 miles wide. I mean, the circumference is 26 miles. Krishna lifted up with his little pinky, and he was only 7 years old. Could you lift up a table when you were 7 years old? No. So you see, Krishna's powers are unsurpassable. It is incorrect to think of the Supreme Lord and the living entities as being on the same level or equal in all respects. See, this is what the Mayavadis, this is why they are considered aparadis. Aparadi means they are offenders. You have all these so-called gurus, Mayavadi gurus, that say, that you can attain all these mystical powers. You can become Superman, right? And we'll teach you. We'll give you this mantra, we'll give you this, we'll do this puja, and you will become, as powerful as God. You will become Shivam. Shivam means that you will be able to master all these mystical powers and be a Superman. That, of course, you might be able to master some mystical powers, but your mystical powers would not even be the germ in the intestine of a mosquito compared to Krishna's mystical powers. Krishna's mystical powers is like an ocean, and your mystical powers, even if you became one of these big yogis, it wouldn't be even equal to the germ in the intestine of a mosquito. You know how small the mosquito is, right? Just imagine the germ in the intestine of the mosquito, right? Nothing. there is always the question of superiority and inferiority between their personalities. Meaning Krishna is always superior. It's never inferior. Inferior means less, superior means greater. The word uttama is very significant, just like we said, purushottama. Purusha uttama, right? Is very significant. No one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I told him, this is the beginning understanding of the word Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here it is right here. It's Purushottama. The word loke signifies in the Purusha Agama, the Smriti scriptures, as confirmed in the Nirukti dictionary, lokyate vidarato nena, anena. The purpose of the Vedas is explained by the Smriti Shastra. Okay, I won't read the rest of this because it gets a little complicated. But just understand, I told him, the beginning understanding of Supreme Personality of God is the word Purusha Uttama or Purushottama. Okay, then the next verse I quoted to him. Yomam evam asamudo janati Purushottama. Sasarva vid bhajate mam sarva bhavena bharata. Okay, so now he says, whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what is that word? Supreme Personality of Godhead. Again, it's Purushottamam. Purushottama. The same word as in the previous verse. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without doubting, is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. So I said, this is the understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I said, but it means more than that. I said, you cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead unless you understand the following verse, 10th chapter, 8th verse. Aham sarvasya prabhava, matak sarvam pravartate, itimatva bhajante mam, buddhabhava samanvita. So write this down, Supreme Personality of Godhead. To understand this, you need to know verse 15th chapter, 18th verse, 15th chapter, 19th verse. And both of those verses talk about Purushottama. Okay. 15th chapter, Bhagavad Gita 15:18 and 15:19. Bhagavad Gita 15:18 and 15:19. Now, to get a more deeper understanding of this Purushottama, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you have to go to the 10th chapter, 8th verse. Now, I showed him all these verses. He was looking at them and putting his finger on this word or that word, but, he didn't understand. Zip. Because, you know why he didn't understand? Because he has spent too many years studying Mayavad philosophy. It's like a poison. It's like, I would basically call it autism, intellectual autism. You know what autism is? The motor connections between the brain and the senses don't work properly anymore. So, he can hear, he can see the verse, he can put his finger on the word Purushottama like that, but it doesn't register in the brain, right? Because there's no connection between, very little connection between the brain and the senses. So that's called autism, intellectual autism, called Mayavad philosophy. Okay, so now we go to verse 10, chapter 10, verse 8. Chapter 10, verse 8. You can show this to your dad. Okay, Tulsi? Okay, he was in that class too, right?
What is his argument against gender?
What?
What is his argument against gender?
Just to elaborate further.
No, he's not arguing against anything. I'm just showing him how to understand Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? After all the explanation, he still didn't understand. All right, this is the second level. Now we're going to go to a third level of understanding. Right now we're on the second level. This verse says, Krishna says, "I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So this means that Krishna is the source of everything material and spiritual. So now it's the second level of understanding Supreme Personality of Godhead. First level is Purushottama, right? No one can be equal to or greater than Krishna. Right? Now the second level is, he is the origin of everything. When it says Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, that means, Prabhava means everything emanates from Krishna. Everything material and spiritual, including the spiritual world and the material world, including all the expansions of Krishna in the spiritual world, which are the Chaturvyuha, and then the first Chaturvyuha, then the second Chaturvyuha, and then all the Narayana expansions in the spiritual world, and including also Lord Ramachandra, and then all the Vishnu expansions in the material world, and then all the incarnations in the material world of Krishna. There's 3 types of incarnations. There's 6 types of incarnations. There's Manvantara avatar, there's Purusha avatar, there's Yuga avatar, there's Leela avatar, there is Manvantara avatar, and there is Shaktavish avatar. So 6 types of avatar or incarnations of the Lord. They're all coming from the Lord, including all the Vishnu incarnations. And there's Mahavishnu, and then there's Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and then there's Shirodakshay Vishnu. Now, there's not just one material universe. There's billions of material universes, and that means there's billions of Mahavishnus, Garbhodakshay Vishnus, and Shirodakshay Vishnus. In fact, there's more than billions of Shirodakshay Vishnus because he's present in the heart of every living entity in the material world, and there's infinite number of living entities, and he's present in every atom of the material creation, and there's an infinite number of atoms. And it's all coming from Krishna. I said, now you're going to begin to understand deeper this idea of Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is why no one could be equal to or greater than Krishna. No one even comes close. And all the demigods are expansions of Krishna, and all the jivas, including the fish and aquatics, all the reptiles and insects, all the birds, all the mammals, all the human beings go all the way up to the devas and all the asuras. They're all expansions of Krishna. So now the next level, the third level, we come to Pancha Tattva. To understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you have to understand the concept of Pancha Tattva. That is, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Sri Advaita Acharya, and Gadadhar Pandit, and Narada Muni. This is the Pancha Tattva. These are the direct associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Lord Chaitanya is the Swayam Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Nityananda is his first expansion. And Advaita is his incarnation. And Gadadhar is Srimati Radharani, his internal potency. And Narada Muni is all the jivas, represents all the jivas, and he's the perfected jiva. See? So now we understand, so there's 2 aspects to the Panchatattva. There's the worshipper Bhagavan and the worshipped Bhagavan. That is the complete understanding of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. I'm sorry, Shiva's, yeah, it's Narada Muni, yeah. Shiva's Acharya. I'm sorry. Yeah. So, you have, now you understand this, the vastness of this definition of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, can you explain this, Tosi? Can you explain Supreme Personality of Godhead? 3 levels. What? Okay, 3rd level is Panchatattva. P-A-N-C-A, Tattva, T-A-T-T-V-A. So you have Lord Chaitanya, you have Lord Nityananda, you have Advaita Acharya, you have Gadadhar Pandit, and you have Srivas Acharya, right? Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. Lord Nityananda is Balaram, first expansion of the Lord. Shri Advaita Acharya is Mahavishnu, the incarnation of the Lord. Gadadhar Pandit is Srimati Radharani, the internal potency of the Lord. There's 3 internal potencies: Satchitananda, or Sandini, Samvit, and Hladini. Anyway, and then you have Srivasacharya, who is pure devotee, like Narada Muni. You cannot understand the concept of Supreme Personality of Godhead without understanding Panchatattva. There's worshipper Bhagavan and worship Bhagavan. All right, so there's 3 levels. First level, 15, 18. It says, and 15, 19. It says that Krishna, it defines what is Purushottama. Right? And the second level, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, that Krishna is the origin of everything. Everything emanates from him, is coming from him. And then the 3rd level is Panchatattva. It includes everything, right? It defines what everything is. The 2nd level says everything comes from Krishna. The 3rd level is very specific. It details everything, right? And that means from Krishna comes Balaram. From Balaram comes the first Chaturvyuha, and then from the first Chaturvyuha comes the second Chaturvyuha, and then from that comes all the Narayana. Actually, from the first Chaturvyuha, all the Narayana expansions in Vaikuntha, and then second Chaturvyuha, all the Vishnu expansions for the material creation. That means Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Kshirodaksha Vishnu, and then all the jivas from the lowest asuras right up to the devas, right? And then all the incarnations of the Lord. There's Matsya Avatar, there's Kurma Avatar, there's Narasingha Avatar, all those avatars, right? And there's 6 types of avatars. There's Leela Avatar, there's Purusha Avatar, there's Manvantara avatars, there is the Guna avatars, and then Shaktavish avatars, and so forth. All these avatars, they're all coming from Krishna originally, through this line. So that, when you understand all that, the 3 levels of Supreme Personality of Godhead, now you see how great, how it's impossible for anyone to be equal to, or independent, or greater than Krishna. It's impossible. So I explained this to him. He still didn't understand. Why did he not understand? Because he'd been poisoned by Mayavad philosophy. And Mayavad philosophy, as I said, is intellectual autism. It's a sickness of the brain. It stops you from understanding anything of higher spiritual knowledge. So, okay, so we'll come back to our lecture now. So, this verse, Canto 1, Chapter 5, verse 35, defines Bhakti Yoga. So Prabhupada says, the general and popular notion is that by discharging fruitive work in terms of the direction of the scriptures, one becomes perfectly able to acquire transcendental knowledge for spiritual realization. That means there are 2 levels of understanding the word karma yoga. The first level of karma yoga is you follow the Vedic rituals but you have an attachment to the result. So that is not real karma yoga, but it's considered a type of karma yoga. But real karma yoga is when you do the same thing, but you offer the result to Krishna without any attachment to it. So then that karma yoga becomes bhakti yoga. Then there's no difference between pure karma yoga and bhakti yoga. But when there's attachment to the result, it's actually impure. And you're not liberated by it. You just go up to the higher planets, material planets, but you stay in the material world subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. So bhakti yoga is considered by some to be another form of karma. That's exactly what he believed. This is exactly what he believed. He could not understand the difference between bhakti yoga and the materialistic karma yoga. And this is what he was trying to teach you in your Sanskrit class. Go ahead.
I thought he would teach actual like Sanskrit letters and everything.
No, his goal was to teach his hodgepodge philosophy. And the entire Sanskrit Bharati movement is based on this, not really teaching Sanskrit, but teaching Mayavad philosophy. It took me a long time to realize it, but he awakened me, he enlightened me. You know, when I saw what he was trying to do, and he said, this is the third time we tried to teach you guys Sanskrit, and every time it's failed. No, what failed is his attempt to teach us Mayavad philosophy through the Sanskrit. And I told him, listen, if you want to successfully teach Sanskrit in this temple, first you sit down with me, and I'll teach you Bhagavad Gita. Like I was showing him in Bhagavad Gita, you know, so many things. He couldn't register it. He just couldn't assimilate it. Why? Because he had been poisoned by Mayavad philosophy. Mayavad philosophy is intellectual autism. It means that there's the motor, let's say, relationship between the mind and the senses does not work properly. He sees things, but it doesn't register properly. And the imperfect things that are registered, and if he hears something that's bona fide, it doesn't communicate, right, to the senses. You know, he doesn't. It's impossible to understand. It's a type of sickness.
Why does he want to teach this?
What?
Why does he want people to learn something?
So that they understand his hodgepodge understanding of the philosophy. Right? You need, you know, the original books are written in Sanskrit, right? So he has his own Mayavad interpretation based on Sarirak Bhasya of Sankaracharya. And he thinks, look, he thinks that Bhakti Yoga, he says, but factually, he says, Bhakti Yoga is considered by some, by the intellectual autistic people, to be another form of karma. Let's say, karma meaning the lower definition of karma, actions performed with attachment to the result. But they follow the rituals enjoined in the Vedas. So they're following something that's Vedic, but for the wrong reason. But factually, Bhakti Yoga is above both karma and jnana. Bhakti Yoga is independent of jnana or karma. On the other hand, jnana and karma are dependent on Bhakti Yoga. This Kriya Yoga or Karma Yoga is recommended by Sri Narada to Vyasa. Is specifically recommended because the principle is to satisfy the Lord. When you engage in Karma Yoga to satisfy the Lord, not to satisfy your own desires, then actually that becomes Bhakti Yoga. Right? But if you engage in Karma Yoga, just like, you know, you invite the priest to your house to do Satyanarayana Puja. And right in the beginning he says, now repeat after me, Mama. Okay, you say, Mama. What does that mean? That means that this sacrifice is done for me, not for Krishna. That's what it means, you say. So that is Karma Yoga. When you engage in Vedic rituals, they're bona fide rituals, but the purpose is not bona fide. Therefore, everything depends on the Arush. Everything depends on Huh? What? Right, the motive. Everything depends on the motive, the purpose. So you learned your lesson last week. Very good. That was the lesson last week. Everything depends on the purpose. If your purpose is to advance materially through the Vedic rituals, that is the lower karma yoga. It's materialistic karma yoga, and that has nothing to do with bhakti. It has nothing to do with the purpose of the Vedas, by the way. The purpose of the Vedas is like this. Why are those rituals in the Vedas? Because it's for lower class people. But to help them become elevated. If you have a proper brahmana, when he says, now we're going to do Satyanarayana Puja, but he won't say mama. He said the real purpose here is to please the Lord. It's not to attain any material advantage for ourselves. So if you have a proper brahmana, what does this mean? There are virtually no proper brahmanas anymore, either in India and especially in the West. They're all saying mama, 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 for me, you know. And they're just catering to the material desires of the people. Yeah, they're just catering to the material. Now, that's no different than what they do in Islam. It's no different than what they do in Buddhism. It's no different than what they do in Christianity. They cater to the material desires of the people. It's no different than what's happening in Hinduism. They're catering to the material desires of the people. This ayur, this archana for ayur, arogya, aishwarya, and a whole litany of other material goals in life. As long as this is the purpose for performing rituals, people do not actually make spiritual advancement. But if they perform these rituals to please the Lord, they will also, Krishna will give them their minimal needs. That is a fact. And this is explained by Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita. Let's take a look at this. It's not that, okay, if I become Hare Krishna, I'll be poor the rest of my life. No, that's not a fact. If you look at the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse 35, it says in the purport, Govinda is not meant for satisfying our senses. If we try to satisfy the senses of Govinda, however, then automatically our own senses are satisfied. Materially, everyone wants to satisfy his senses, and he wants God to be the order supplier for such satisfaction. The Lord will satisfy the senses of the living entities as much as they deserve, but not to the extent that they may covet, or meaning desire. But when one takes the opposite way, namely, when one tries to satisfy the senses of Govinda without desiring to satisfy one's own senses, then by the grace of Govinda, all desires of the living entity are satisfied. Ah, this is real knowledge now. In other words, when we have pure desires to please Krishna, then Krishna will help us attain all those desires, because it's to please the Lord. Just like we had a desire to build this temple. So Krishna helped us. We were able to raise the money, we were able to have honest construction company that did a relatively good job, and now we have this very nice temple. This was the collective desire of many devotees to have a nice temple for Radha and Krishna. So Krishna satisfied that desire. But if I want to build a big mansion for myself, that may or may not happen. It depends on what my previous karma is. I can only get, no matter how many rituals I perform, I can only get whatever I deserve from my previous karma. That's why he says, you will only get what you deserve from your previous karma. Right? You're not going to get more than that. And you're not going to get less than that either. No, the purpose is to please Krishna. No, they're being cheated. Why are there cheaters in society? You tell me. You become a billionaire by flipping houses. Just, buy my course, So he's making money not flipping houses by selling his junk course, right? Or multi-level marketing. You can become a millionaire by multi-level marketing. What is the purpose of multi-level marketing? Take advantage of some stupid person who believes you, right? So why are there people like that? Because they're working for their own advantage. So the priests, most Brahmins today, and this is why Hinduism is in decline, most Brahmins today just pander to those materialistic desires of the people. They don't actually tell them what the real purpose is. They're holding back that knowledge. They may even know it, but they're holding it back because they make money by doing the archanas. To make to make that $21 archana, they're promising them ayur arogya aishwarya. You'll not get sick. You'll be healthy. Ayur, you'll have a long life. You won't get sick, and you'll be rich. But this is what the Christians do. This is what the Muslims do. This is what the Buddhists do also. They also do archanas. They have their own way of doing the archanas. They call it blessings. So, your question is, again, ask the question again. So what's the value of doing these rituals if you're not going to get more than what your karma allows you? Yeah. You're going to get it anyway. Yeah. Just like someone plays the lottery and they win $55 million, right? Did they know they were going to win the lottery? No. And they're one out of 300 million people that played the lottery, or 150 million people that played the lottery, right? So why did they win it and everybody else didn't? Because they did something in their previous life. They have that karma, a little bit of good karma. Most people who win those big lotteries, it ruins their life. It ruins their life. You can write a history of all the people whose lives have been ruined who hit the big lottery. Right? So along with the good karma comes the bad karma also. You say. There was one nun that hit the lottery. I think she got $66 million in New Jersey. She donated it all to the convent. She didn't even keep one penny for herself. That's an exception, right? Because she was a real nun. Right? Right. Because, she wanted to serve Jesus. She wanted to serve her convent. If ever there's a ISKCON sannyasi who hits the lottery, he would immediately not be a sannyasi anymore, right? Because he would have violated one of the fundamental rules of Krishna consciousness. Even if he gives the money to the temple, maybe they'll make a little exception, but they'll not overlook the fact that he violated the rules of Krishna consciousness. See? Yeah. Have you ever played the lottery? No, I haven't either. I've been sometimes tempted, when you see $55 million, you say, well, if I could get that for Krishna. But there was a devotee, wait a minute, there was a devotee who was trying to start a temple in Las Vegas who won on the slot machine. He won big. He was never able to build that temple. And he left. Someone else came who just didn't try and do any slot machines or anything like that. He actually built the temple. He opened the temple, but he couldn't maintain it. Why? Because it started with some sinful activity. Right? And they wrote an article about him in ISKCON News saying, he said, so this was Krishna's mercy. So we should not play the lottery, that's for sure. Okay. So here it says, the Lord does not want his sons, the living beings, to suffer the threefold miseries of life. He desires that all of them come to him and live with him. But going back to God, it means that one must purify himself or herself from material infections. What is the ultimate material infection? Mayavad philosophy. When work is performed, therefore, to satisfy the Lord, the performer becomes gradually purified from the material affection, This purification means attainment of spiritual knowledge. So what does material affection mean? Arjuna had material affection for his family members. Because of that, he refused to follow Krishna's order. Now, is there real affection and is there false affection? Yes, there is. Real affection is affection for the soul of your family members. And you cannot understand the individual soul without understanding Paramatma or Krishna also, because Paramatma is in the heart with everybody. So when you're interested in the soul of your family members, then you'll do everything to help them become Krishna conscious. If you're only interested in the body of your family members, you'll do everything to help them enjoy sense gratification. There's a big difference. So if you love your mother and father, but you actually love their soul, their souls, you'll do everything to help them in Krishna consciousness. Like even after they die, you'll continue helping them in Krishna consciousness. How? If you become a pure devotee, they will all be liberated also. 21 generations of your family. Therefore, your duty, if you really love your mother and father or grandmother and grandfather who have died, or your ancestors that have died, you will do everything to become a pure devotee. Now, oftentimes, you'll be in a family, not necessarily devotee family, but you'll be in a family in which the members of your family will not follow Krishna consciousness. Right? They don't understand what you're doing. But if you become a pure devotee, regardless of the fact that they don't understand and they never did anything for Krishna, still they'll be liberated. Still they'll be liberated. So therefore, your duty, if you really love your family members, is to become a pure devotee. Yeah. Microphone.
I know about the 21 generations, but isn't that like if you liberate your forefathers and foremothers and everybody, you'll still be left, and your grandchildren and children will have to like do the same thing for you?
Yes. Well, no. Okay. If you're a pure devotee, you also go back to Godhead. Right. Just like Prahlad Maharaj, right? He had a grandson, right? Bali Maharaj. And Bali Maharaj was the head of the demons, of the Asuras, right? But because he had been trained somewhat by his grandfather, Prahlad Maharaj, he became a pure devotee. Even though he had so-called demonic blood. You know, who was Bali Maharaj's dad? Huh? Yeah. Yeah. And he's the king of the demons, of all the Asuras, right? He was not king of the Devas, he was king of the demons. And the Asuras were able to defeat Indra and take over the entire Devalokas. Why? Because Indra killed his guru and insulted his guru. He had several gurus. He killed one of them, and he insulted the first guru he had. Huh?
Didn't he kill two of his gurus? Dwashta and Vishwarupa?
Vishwarupa wasn't his... He wasn't his guru. He was his enemy, but he was actually a pure devotee, if I'm not mistaken. Oh. Yeah, he was acting like his guru, but Indra did not accept him officially as a guru, but he was instructed by Indra, and he killed him. But previous to that, what's his name? Dadachi, right? Is it Dadachi? Dadichi. Yeah, Dadichi, he basically asked to kill him, got permission to kill him so that he could use his bones to get a special weapon to kill Vishwarupa. Huh? Oh, Vritrasura.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Vritrasura. Not Vishwarupa, Vritrasura. Yeah.
Didn't King Chitraketu, like, he was Vritrasura from his past karma?
That's continuation of the story. Yeah.
But King Chitraketu was lamenting because he didn't have a son to liberate him. That's what it said in one of the translations in the 6th canto.
Okay. But, okay, so, in other words, the goal of a Krishna conscious family, let's say, is to have proper son. Or at least, let's say, not Krishna conscious, but of a pious family is to have a proper son, so the son can perform the Shraddha ceremony for the parents after they die. But if you become a devotee, it's not absolutely necessary. I mean, what happens to people who become sannyasis, at a young age? They don't have any sons, but they're already liberated because of their full engagement in devotional service. You understand? Yeah. Okay. When work is performed, therefore, to satisfy the Lord, the performer becomes gradually purified from the material affection. This purification means attainment of spiritual knowledge. So material affection, being attached to the body of family members rather than to the soul, is a disease. And one symptom of that disease is you cannot attain spiritual knowledge. You'll never really understand it completely. Therefore, knowledge is dependent on karma or work done on behalf of the Lord. So that's the real karma yoga, when you act only for the pleasure of the Lord. Karma, another meaning of the word, is action. Other knowledge, being devoid of bhakti yoga or satisfaction of the Lord, cannot lead one back to the kingdom of God. So all the mundane knowledge people learn is not going to help them go back to Godhead. You learn how to dissect a frog. That's not going to help you go back to Godhead. You learn how to make money on the stock market. That's not going to help you go back to God. You learn how to do this or that, how to be an electrical engineer. That's not going to help you go back to Godhead. Right? Other knowledge, being devoid of bhakti yoga or satisfaction of the Lord, cannot lead one back to the kingdom of God, which means that it cannot even offer salvation, as already explained in connection with the stanza Naiskarmyam api achuta bhava varjitam. The conclusion is that a devotee engaged in unalloyed service to the Lord, specifically in hearing and chanting of his transcendental glories, becomes simultaneously spiritually enlightened by the divine grace as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So, when it says, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, let's read that. The conclusion is that a devotee engaged in the unalloyed service of the Lord, specifically in hearing and chanting of his transcendental glories, becomes simultaneously spiritually enlightened by the divine grace as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhaktya mam abhijananti yavanyas chasmi tatvata tatomam tatvato gyatva vishatetad anantaram. So, this verse says, Krishna says he can only be understood through bhakti yoga, right? 18th chapter, 54th verse. But then again, in the beginning of the 9th chapter, the beginning of the 7th chapter is a very important verse that says, Maya Shakta Manakparta Yogam Yunjan Madasraya Asamsayam Samagramam Yatagyasya Sitatshinu. Now hear, Arjuna, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So this is an important verse, 7th chapter, 1st verse, because it confirms what's being said here. The conclusion is that a devotee engaged in the unalloyed service of the Lord, that's Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Amam Abhijananti, 18th chapter, 54th verse, specifically in hearing and chanting his transcendental glories. That's what this verse says, 7.1. Mai Ashakta Manakparta, Yogam Yunjan Madasraya. Becomes simultaneously spiritually enlightened by the divine grace, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, we have 3 verses now. Verse 1, 1854. What does that say? Krishna says, let me just double check. It's 1854, I think. No, it's 1855. I'm sorry, 1855. It says that it's only by devotional service that you can understand Krishna. And then 7.1 says that if you hear, Krishna says, Shrinu, touch Shrinu, if you hear from Krishna and about Krishna, then you can know him. You will get knowledge by regular hearing. Right? And then the 3rd verse says that Tesam satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. 10th chapter, 10th verse. Write that down. You have 3 verses now. 10th chapter, 10th verse says that one who's surrendered to me, Tesam satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam, who's always engaged in my devotional service, always thinking of me, serving me with devotion, I give them the knowledge by which they come to me. So now we have 3 verses that explain this one sentence that we're reading in the purport of Bhagavad Gita. It says, the conclusion is that a devotee engaged in the unalloyed service of the Lord, meaning pure service of the Lord, specifically in hearing and chanting of his transcendental glories, becomes simultaneously spiritually enlightened by divine grace, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. So you get knowledge through hearing and chanting about Krishna while you're engaged in pure devotional service. Okay, and we have 3 verses that confirm that in Bhagavad Gita. Now the next verse, and then we'll stop. Yes. Microphone.
The 3rd verse.
10th chapter, 10th verse.
2nd verse.
Huh?
2nd verse.
Oh, the 2nd verse is 7th chapter, 1st verse.
7th chapter.
Can you repeat what 7.1 says?
7.1 says that if you continually hear about the Lord, it'll erase all doubts in your mind and you'll become enlightened. All right? Prabhupada quotes that verse a lot. Maya Shakta Manakparta Yogam Yunjan Madasraya Samsayam Samagramam Yatagyasyasi Tachrina. So Krishna tells Arjuna, now hear, O son of Prita Arjuna, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, that's called Bhakti Yoga, Yogam Yunjan Mad Ashraya. So this Mad Ashraya means full consciousness. And yoga means in practicing self-realization, understanding yourself in relationship to Krishna. With full consciousness, with your mind fully fixed on Krishna. With mind attached to me. That's the Mad Ashraya. You can know me in full, free from all doubt. You will know Krishna. You will not have any doubts, and you'll have all knowledge. So Tulsi, when you go home, you explain to your mom and dad what Supreme Personality of Godhead means, right? And then you explain how by practicing Bhakti Yoga, you get all knowledge and you become Krishna conscious and go back to Godhead. You have 2 things to explain to them today. Haribol, Shri Radha Nilamadhava ki jai. Can you do that? You have the verse. Vigrahasya Adi Purusha
Start singing. Sing. Sing. Why not? You know how to sing, right? Come on. Yashomati Nandana Brajabaro Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana. Yashomati Nandana Brajabaro Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana. Gopi Parana Dhana Madana Manohara. Gopi Parana Dhana Madana Manohara. Kaliya Damana Vidhana. Kaliya Damana Vidhana. Amala Harinam Amya Vilasa. Amala Harinam Amya Vilasa. Vipina Purandara Navina Nagarabara. Vipina Purandara Navina Nagarabara. Vamsi Vadana Suvasa. Vamsi Vadana Suvasa. Brajajana Palana Surakula Nashana. Brajajana Palana Surakula Nashana. Nanda Godhana Rakhovala. Nanda Godhana Rakhovala. Govinda Madhava Navnita Taskara. Govinda Madhava Navnita Taskara. Sundarananda Gopala. Sundarananda Gopala. Jamuna Tatachara Gopi Basanahara. Jamuna Tatachara Gopi Basanahara. Rasa Rasika Pika Kripamoya. Rasa Rasika Kripamoya. Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara. Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara. Bhakti Vinodashraya. Bhakti Vinodashraya. Yashomati Nandana Brajabaro Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Nila Madhav, Radha Nila Madhav, Radhe Radha Nila Madhav, Radha Nila Madhav, Radhe. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladeva, Jai Subhadra. Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladeva, Jai Subhadra. Jai Sita Ram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman, Sitaram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman Jai. Sitaram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman. Sitaram Lakshman Bhakta Hanuman. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha. Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada Jai Vishnupada Paramas Parivitakacharya Stotra Sadhas Divine Grace Abhaicharan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्यामकुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय गंगा माई की जय यमुना माई की जय भक्ति देवी की जय तुलसी महारानी की जय हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय श्री प्रभुपाद ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय श्री प्रभुपाद मैराथन की जय All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Garanga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada.